One of the questions that I'm asked all the time on the channel is, what is the handlebar setup that I'm using on my Royal Enfield Interceptor 650? I get loads of questions about what bars I'm running and the general setup of all of the different controls up here. And I guess it kind of stands to reason, as this is the shot that you see most often in a lot of my videos, and pretty much everything up here is non-stock. So naturally people have a lot of questions. So I thought I'd put a video together that's going to take you through my setup in detail and to give you my thoughts on all of the different parts that I've got on this bike. So let's do it. So this footage here was recorded a couple of years ago when I first got my Royal Enfield Interceptor 650, and as you can see, it's all pretty much stock. We've got the big sit up and beg chrome braced handlebars, the antler style mirrors, and all the standard hardware up here on the bike. Now, I'm not saying that this is a bad setup. I'm just saying that this setup wasn't what I wanted for this bike. Now, it's all a very personal thing when you change your handlebars, because of course it's going to change the comfort factor, it's going to change how you ride the bike, but it's also going to change the look and feel of the machine as well. And these were two things that I knew I wanted to experiment with, to try to personalize the bike, try to customize it for how I want to ride it. And for me, it was an opportunity to get some slightly more premium hardware up here. The handlebars and the control surfaces really are the intersection between man and machine. So for me personally, it's a really important thing to get right. This is all about how you engage with your bike. It's a personal thing, but it's a really important thing, and it makes a massive difference. So let's start out with the handlebars. These are from LSL, and they're called the Superbike bars. Now, they're 760 millimeters wide, and they've got a pretty low rise on them, rising just 65 millimeters from the lowest point. Now, you can get them in multiple colors. They're available in aluminium and steel too. So you've got the choice between the slightly stronger but heavier steel version and the lighter alley versions, which I've got on my Interceptor. Now, if you've not heard of LSL before, they're a German company. They're actually one of my favorite brands for aftermarket parts. Pretty much everything I've ever had from LSL has turned out to be impeccably well made and actually quite good value as well. These bars will cost you about £60. So they're kind of in the middle price point for handlebars. They're not ridiculously expensive, but they're also not kind of dangerously cheap either. So I've got good confidence in these bars and definitely a lot of confidence in LSL. Now, when it comes to mounting the bars on the bike, I had previously fitted these. These are the Motone Customs up and over risers. But I've actually recently gone back to the stock clamps that have basically no rise on them. And with these low-slung LSL bars, I'm actually really enjoying that slightly more focused position. As you can see here, there's no additional rise, and the fact that the LSL bars are quite low definitely kind of points you slightly more over the tank. I mean, these aren't kind of clip-on style, but they are pretty low for this bike. And I'm enjoying it. I'm kind of experimenting with different setups. I mean, maybe one day I'll go back to the Motone setup, but I think this is a really good combination. The thing to bear in mind with the Interceptor, because of the shape of the tank, you've got to be a little bit careful if you're going for very low slung bars, because you might run into some interference with the switchgear and the fuel tank, which is something you definitely don't want. So it's worth just checking this out. But as I said, with the LSL bars and the system that I've got on my Interceptor, I'm not running into any clearance issues at the moment, which is all good. So elsewhere on the bars, I'm running an aftermarket twist grip from a company called Venhill Engineering. This is the 888 fast action throttle grip. And from what I can make out, they may have discontinued this because I can't see it on the website anymore, which is a shame because I absolutely love this. It's manufactured with a CNC machined aluminium body, and critically it comes with a choice of 2 internal rotors. Now, these rotors are really important because they're going to change the throw on the throttle. On the fastest setting, which I've got fitted, there's 80 degrees of rotation, which is typically 45% faster than a standard throttle. Now, when they say faster, effectively that means less twist, more go, because you're moving your wrist through a much tighter angle to get to wide open throttle. The other rotor will give you slightly less, so 90 degrees of rotation, making that around 25% faster than the original. Now, I've paired up the twist grip with a set of Venhill Featherlight cables, which I've made up myself. If you head over to the Venhill website, you'll find pretty much everything you need to make your own cables up. Or you can go for the ready-to-go 888 kit, which they do still sell, and that costs around £30. That's got pretty much everything you need inside it. All you will have to do is cut everything to length and then be comfortable with soldering those barrels onto the end of the cables. I've done a full video on how to do it. It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, but you might need to practice a couple of times if you've never done it before. So definitely order a little bit of extra cable and maybe a couple of extra barrels so that you've got something to test it out with, but it's a pretty easy job to do. Now, the stock throttle on the Interceptor is an integrated part, so it's integrated with the switch gear. So if you're going to change this, you are also going to need to find a solution to start the bike. Now, I've tried a couple of systems, but I've settled on this. It's a very straightforward starter and kill switch from Domino. And this is a kind of industry standard unit. You see this on loads and loads of different bikes. The only thing you have to bear in mind is you will need to make up your own plug so that it wires into the Interceptor. Very helpfully, there is a full electrical diagram in the back of the manual that you get with the bike, so wiring it up should be pretty straightforward. The only thing you'll need is one of those plug kits that you can easily pick up on Amazon for a few quid to get the job done. Next up, we've got to talk about the mirrors because these are new, and these are the Rizoma Spy Arm mirrors. You can get them in black or, as you can see here, in raw aluminium, and they cost around £150 each. So yes, they are quite expensive, but they are incredibly well made. These are the kind of things that you'll buy once, but hopefully they'll transcend multiple bikes. So if you're fairly confident you're always going to have a modern classic bike in your garage, these are the kind of things that over time will become a good investment. Although I have to say it's slightly painful paying around £300 for a set of mirrors. I went for the silver version as I just think it best shows off the amazing build quality of these things. Rizoma are very well known for their machining, often making that machined look a kind of design feature in their parts. And they've certainly done it here, as you can see, with these engravings across the body of the mirror. They come in two sizes. You can get the homologated 94.5mm version, and there's a slightly more compact version at 80mm. These are the slightly bigger ones. As you can see here in this shot, the glass is slightly blued, and there's also a convex shape to the mirror as well. Rizoma say this is all about giving you the widest possible field of view behind you, and the blue tint is designed to be anti-dazzle. So if you get hit by the sun or if there's somebody full beaming behind you, that's just going to dull that off a little bit and hopefully not blind you. Now, I've got to say the view from these mirrors is absolutely brilliant. You can see everything behind you if you get them positioned in the right way. And when it comes to positioning, you've got a ton of options because it's got this kind of ball and socket style joint. You've got basically infinite adjustability. You can, of course, also pitch the arm any way you want to as well. So you can have them pointing up, you can go for a low slung look, or you can do as I've done and have them pointing straight out in front of you. It's entirely up to you, but I'm sure you'll be able to find a way to get an excellent shot behind you. Now, you can't just go ahead and fit these straight onto the stock Royal Enfield bars, as those bars have got those weird shaped fittings in the end of them. It might be better off for you just to go ahead and get an open bar, which in the case of my LSL bars it's just a straight up 22mm bar. So the universal fitting kit from Rizoma, which unfortunately also costs an extra £14 per side, will work just fine. So yes, an expensive proposition, but I think these mirrors look absolutely fantastic. Next up, I've changed my brake master cylinder for a Brembo RCS 15. And in my humble opinion, the Brembo RCS master cylinders are amongst the best in the business. They are incredibly well built, really nicely put together, absolutely no slop in the levers. Now, you're not necessarily going to get a load more stopping power, but what you are going to notice is just a next level of precision, feedback, and feel. These are so linear throughout the stroke that you'll be able to precisely feather your brakes with just a huge amount of consistency and confidence. They just feel wonderful. There's something very natural to me about how these brakes operate. There's no nasty surprises anywhere in the stroke. Everything is very smooth, everything is very predictable, very linear, and that just gives you a ton of confidence. So I really love the Brembo RCS 15 master cylinder on this bike. I think it has definitely improved the overall experience. Is it overkill? Probably. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Now, atop of the RCS 15 are another two parts from Rizoma. I've got the bracket arm bolted to the Brembo Perch and the black Rizoma fluid pot finishing the job. Now, if I was to do this again, I might go for a slightly smaller pot, but this is the closest in size to the stock reservoir that comes with the RCS 15. So that was the one that naturally I went towards, and it does the job perfectly well. Over on the clutch side, I've got this. This is the TWM racing clutch perch and lever. Now, I mainly got this because it matches almost perfectly up to the Brembo lever on the other side. It's a part made by Domino and it's branded TWM. Now, what I really love about this system is the massive amount of adjustability that you get in the lever. So no matter what span size you want to set up, what gloves you're wearing on any particular day, you can perfectly dial in that gap between the grip and the lever, which is really nice. There's also another couple of nice little design features on this. It's got that little slit in the end of the lever. That's an anti-drag slit, so that the idea is that the wind doesn't push the clutch in. That's probably not going to happen on the Interceptor, let's be perfectly honest. But the good thing about this lever is it is foldable. So if you do happen to drop the bike, chances are that's just going to fold up rather than risking snapping your lever, leaving you in all kinds of problems. So that's the TWM racing clutch. Again, a really nice quality part. Well built, no slop in this system. It feels really good in the hand. Next to the clutch perch, I've got this. This is the universal switchgear from Remoto. Really nicely made. I think these parts look fantastic. I've actually got the switchgear for both sides, but I'm only running it on the left-hand side at the moment. And when you buy this, you can choose different combinations if you want like a silver body with silver buttons, or all black, or as I've got it here, a combination of the black body and silver buttons. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Only consideration here is you will need to wire up your own plug, but really it's not a big deal as long as you've got the right parts to do it. So next up, this is the phone mount, and I get asked about this all the time on the channel. Okay, so I run the Quadlock system with the added shock damper. Now, I use my iPhone for navigating on all my bikes. I don't have any dedicated navigation hardware that I'm currently using, because with all of the apps that you've got today and offline maps and things like that, I just don't think you need dedicated navigation hardware anymore. But the risk of using your phone on the bars is apparently damaging your optical image stabilization system inside your camera. Now, this has never happened to me, but apparently it is a thing. And I'm not surprised, you know, there's a lot of vibrations and shocks that come up through these bars, and you know, cameras are delicate things. That system is effectively kind of floating within a magnetic field. So yeah, I can see how it might get damaged. So Quadlock have designed this damper to soak up a lot of those vibes. And you can see here, it just kind of rocks backwards and forwards, and it softens the blow that might come up through the bars. Now with the Quadlock, you do need to use a specific case. So you just put your phone inside the Quadlock case and that just twists and snaps in place. It takes seconds to get it on and off the bike. I think it's possibly one of the best systems on the market, maybe slightly beaten for flexibility by the RAM system. But if this works on your bars, I think it's definitely the way to go. Now, finishing the look up on my bars, I've got these cheap grips that I got from Amazon. I think these were about £10, just a very basic, nice, classic diamond pattern. There's not much to say about these other than I think they suit the bike really well. And yep, they're pretty comfortable too. Finally, to tidy up the cables, I've just gone ahead and used some of those Velcro strips. If I could kind of wave a magic wand and make the wires disappear, I'd love to do that. Or maybe one day when I'm exceptionally bored, I could even go ahead and try to thread them through the bars or something, but I can't see myself being that bored anytime soon. I think the setup at the moment is pretty tidy. The cables are nicely managed. And again, with those Velcro strips, they're slightly less harsh on the cables than those traditional cable ties, and they're very easy to adjust if you ever need to. So that's pretty much it. Now you know what I'm running up on the Interceptor 650 in terms of the bars and all the different component parts that I've put on my bike. As I said, it is quite a personal thing, but for me, this setup is working really well. I will leave some links down in the description below so you can check out these individual items if you want to. So coming up on the channel in the next few weeks, I'm thinking about getting a paint job done on the Interceptor. I've talked about this in the past. It's definitely been something that's playing more and more on my mind. I have got somebody that's going to do it. All I need to do now is decide exactly what I'm going to do. So I might post a couple of design ideas up on the channel and you guys can let me know if you think I'm about to destroy the bike or not. Other videos coming up on the channel. I got contacted recently by Trip Machine following the review that I did on their seat. So they're actually going to send me a bunch of stuff to do some reviews on as well. So that's really exciting. We'll get some luggage reviews and things like that going on from Trip Machine on the channel. And also, I think we're getting close to needing to get out there and do a little bit of bike shopping as well. So there could be some news on the channel soon around new bikes or potential new bikes. So don't forget to hit subscribe. There's lots of content on the way. Thank you very much for watching this one. And until the next time, ride safe.